Sunspots reflect turmoil and strife we ourselves create. The boomerang of divine law. There is a Sun-Earth interconnection. Interconnection between the Sun and the Earth. This is from HeartMath. It's another wonderful article having to do with what scientists have found, the evidence that they have found stating what takes place. Because of compassion operatives, many questions, I will cover some of the basics of the science behind the Global Coherence Initiative in the first few GCI commentaries. Global Coherence Initiative. This will include Sun-Earth interactions and the ionosphere, and how they affect our health and well-being. I will also explain how the magnetometers at our sensor sites work. There's a strong connection between the Sun and Earth. A rotating molten iron core in the Earth generates our magnetic field that has fluctuated throughout history. The strength of the Earth's magnetic field, as we know, has been decreasing steadily, and especially lately, at an alarming rate of 5% per century, since we began measuring it in the mid-1800s. Now we're talking about space weather here. The Sun has an 11-year cycle in which its magnetic field changes dramatically, especially during the solar maximum. We are in a solar minimum right now, but we're talking about general information here and evidence. The 11-year cycle in which its magnetic field changes dramatically, especially during the solar maximum. The sunspots and solar flares that eject powerful bursts of matter and energy into the solar system. Earth is surrounded by a bubble of air reaching 350 miles into space, and within it lies the ionosphere, which GCI monitors our sensor sites. The solar wind interacts with Earth's magnetic field by flattening the magnetic field on the sunward side and stretching it out on the downward side, causing the so-called magnetotail. The solar wind varies over periods as short as seconds. When solar blasts and their associated magnetic field reach Earth's magnetosphere, highly energized particles can be extracted from the solar wind into the magnetosphere, producing auroras and causing a geomagnetic storm, which in turn creates a magnetic field variations and affects whatever lies within it. When Earth's orbit and solar flares intersect, many disruptions are experienced in radio communication, satellites, climate, and even on our bodies. If you see the videos before this one, we talk about the interconnection between solar activity, volcanic eruptions, and earthquakes, weathers, and cycles on Earth, and especially human behavior and health. Now, the solar activity, geomagnetic activity, and weather are correlated to changes in blood pressure, blood composition, and the physical and chemical state of humans, causing higher rates of depression, heart attacks, and deaths. And this is reflected not only in individual and group biological and emotional systems, but in nature as well, in natural, social, and political systems as well. And again, please watch the video before this one, it's very important. Now, also human aggression, as seen in national and international conflicts, terror attacks and wars occur in cycles that can be linked to solar and geomagnetic activity. Isn't that astonishing? More about social influences will be presented in an upcoming GCI report, they say. The findings include the following. These are, of course, scientific findings with evidence. There is a statistically significant increase in male hospital admissions for depression the second week after geomagnetic storms. This is according to K Research 1994. On days after a geomagnetic storm, the incidence of myocardial infarction, that is a heart attack, increases by a whopping 7%. This is according to Cornelissen and colleagues, 1999. Over a 30-year span, Approximate weekly, yearly, and 10.5-year rhythms have been observed in heart disease-related mortality in Minnesota. Medical officials report an additional 220 such cases per year during maximal solar activity. That's a 5% increase compared to years of minimum solar activity. This is 1999 research. Approximate weekly and yearly rhythms are observed in heart disease-related mortality. This by Cornelissen and colleagues, 1999 research. A meta-analysis of 47 studies shows the incidence of myocardial infarction, that's heart attack, increases on Mondays with a secondary peak on Thursdays and Fridays. I guess people don't like going back to work after the weekend. That's why they have stress on Mondays. Correlating with solar and geomagnetic activity. This is 1999 research by Cornelissen. The weekly rhythm in reduced heart rate variability for middle-aged individuals characterized by decreases on Mondays and Fridays correlate with the weekly pattern of cardiovascular events and geomagnetic influences. Again, Cornelissen and colleagues, 1999 research. To better describe the Sun-Earth interaction, Mitch Batros, a science writer, came up with the following equation for the relationship between the Sun and the Earth. Sunspots equal solar flares equal magnetic field shift equal shifting ocean and even jet streams equal extreme weather and human disruption. That's how it goes. Solar cycle 24 has begun, and it's been predicted by the National Aeronautics Space Administration, NASA, European Space Agency, ESA, and National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, that it will be up to 50% stronger than its record-breaking predecessor, solar cycle 23. The Sun is predicted to reach its apex or maximum of activity in late 2011-2012. And what might this increased activity hold in store for us? Now, as you know, this is an article written around 2010. Now, variations in Earth's magnetic field are measured by magnetometers for the Global Coherence Initiative, GCI. HMI engineers have built a magnetometer nicknamed Maggie, which is located in Boulder Creek, California. The GCI is establishing a network of global sensor sites to study these and related phenomena and to expand the dimensions of its research on emotional psychology, human of course, heart-brain interactions, and the physiology of optimal health and performance. The function of this network is to investigate the relationship between the magnetic forces in the Earth and ionosphere, as well as other established measures of solar geomagnetic activity and human biological systems. This global coherence monitoring system will utilize a network of 12 sensor sites strategically placed around the world. Each site will include an ultra-sensitive magnetic field detector to detect ionospheric disturbances and resonances, a geomagnetic static field detector, and a random number generator, RNG. Data gathered from these detectors will be integrated with NOAA data to provide a picture of the Earth's energetics. This is all the science behind GCI for this commentary. And another area to be explored in a future GCI commentaries will be whether we are not only affected by the Sun and Earth's geomagnetic activity, but if we as human beings with our consciousness might actually cause or influence the Sun's activity, and we can. As we said, by prayer and meditation, we can, with our input through that, calm the solar activity. That has been evidenced. Now, Edgar Cayce, the famous 20th century clairvoyant, once gave a reading about sunspots in which he said, quote, "Sunspots, as well as earth changes, are reflections of our own state of consciousness, a result of our own actions, the boomerang of divine law. Sunspots are reflections of the turmoil and strife that we ourselves have created, and our own mind is the builder. The responsibility for Earth changes lies squarely on our shoulders, and how we conduct our relationships with others has everything to do with the changing face of the Earth. Earth changes are adjustments, quote unquote, that have to be made because something is out of alignment. Just as we create chaotic conditions by our own out of alignment behavior, so we can create positive transformations by our loving attitudes and actions, end quote. This is reading number 5757-1. And finally, we'll explore at greater length the effects of changes in geomagnetism and Sun-Earth interactions on natural phenomena such as earthquakes, volcanoes, and violent storms in an upcoming commentary. And that's the video before this one, has to do with solar activity, volcanic eruptions and earthquakes, weather and cycles on Earth, and also, of course, human health and psychology. This is by Annette Dale, PhD, and GCMS research team. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.